This is what a year of inner work looks like when you turn it into a game and you track everything with real data. 271 days where I checked in with myself, 102 hours in meditation, and 741 times where I chose to pick courage over fear in social situations. For a year, I gamified my entire inner life, my beliefs, my emotions, my growth, the same way you would track your progress in the gym. And the most valuable thing it showed me wasn't any single number, it was something that nobody gets to see about themselves. My name is Ege. I used to be a software engineer building mobile apps. Now I coach analytical men to turn their minds into their biggest asset instead of a liability and create the life that they want. And the big pattern I saw seeing when it came to belief work is a lot of the guys I work with, right? They would track their sleep, they would track their nutrition, they would track, I don't know, their sleep score, their steps, their net worth, their investments, everything except the one system that was actually running their life, their mind. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what I tracked, what the data revealed, how you're probably tracking the wrong things, and where this is all heading, what the vision is with what I'm trying to do for myself and for the clients that I work with, because I think it's going to be a revolutionary way to integrate beliefs into a trackable system and make creating your ideal life effortless. All right, so let's get into it, right? Let me start by why I started to make this tracker to begin with, why me and my business partner Numer ended up building Actualize OS. The reason was I was working with clients who are analytical, and they would keep telling me I feel completely stuck and sometimes things are not changing. I feel like I know things are changing, but I feel like nothing is changing. And as a coach from the outside, I could see, wow, this person's making amazing progress. But it would be amazing if I had something where I could show them the data of what's changing so they could make more objective decisions instead of going with their feelings, right? They could decide with real data instead of getting caught up with emotional loops. And I remember with this client, he was feeling frustrated socially and ready to quit. So, because we had all this data we were collecting, I pulled up his dashboard and the data he'd been logging for a few weeks. And what the dashboard showed was actually that month he had put himself in about 30% more social situations before compared to the month before. So he wasn't actually stuck, he was just going through a negative emotional loop and he couldn't see all the progress that he made, right? And this is the trap of doing inner work just based on feeling. What happens is growth on the inside, growth in your belief system can be quite slow. And you don't actually get a notification saying, oh, your belief is, not as strong this time. You feel more like you're good enough. You don't believe that you're not good enough as much anymore, right? So your brain, which is wired to notice threats, which is wired to avoid what could go wrong, is also wired to not notice quiet progress. So your brain might tell you, nothing's really happening, and you might end up quitting right before everything starts compounding. So that's the whole reason I started tracking my beliefs, my emotions, and creating Actualize OS for myself and also for my clients. It wasn't to optimize myself into a machine, it was to be able to see my own feelings who may have been hiding from me. And once I could see my belief system, how everything changed, then I could be more intentional about it. But what I tracked isn't probably what you expect, right? Here's where most analytical men go wrong. When they finally decide to track something, they just track the behavior. This can be, did I meditate? Did I go to the gym? Did I submit my daily report for the day? Am I consistent with my habits? And that's completely fine, but it's a pretty shallow layer to work with. What I track is the operating system underneath every behavior. Every day, inside our daily report system that we also have for our clients, I log a few things. My mood on a simple scale from 1 to 10, my boldest move of the day, the thing that I did that scared me a little bit. But instead of running away from the fear, I ran into the fear and picked courage. The wins that I might forget normally by dinner time, and the beliefs that I caught in the background that was running the person that I was. Now, something important to notice here is recognize how there is no field saying what I should have done better before. This is on purpose because that field feeds the inner critic, right? And when we're trying to fuel ourselves with shame, what we end up doing is we just feel worse and worse. And for my life, I've never seen shame build anything for anyone. So this is the whole difference between tracking habits at a surface level, but versus tracking habits to track your mind and your belief system. The habits tell you what you did. However, when you track it this way, you also connect it to beliefs so you know who you're becoming. The first one is a to-do list. The second one is a mirror that you look at, and you can check your feelings against that mirror every day. So if if you're going through a tough time, and again, in everyone's self-development journey, in every person's life, there is ups and downs, right? There'll be days where you'll feel better about yourself, and there'll be days where you don't feel so good about yourself. But when you have clear data, you don't let one bad afternoon convince you that you're stuck. And you don't let one bad afternoon be the reason that you quit this process completely, right? But here's the important part. None of this works if you don't get yourself to actually do it. And you won't be able to stay consistent on pure discipline. So I had to turn Actualize OS, this whole system that we built, into something that I wouldn't just do based on discipline. I had to turn it into something I would look forward to. I couldn't wait to open and log my stats in. Now, before I show you how I made this stick, right? If this resonates with you, you resonate with the idea of making inner work stick, making it measurable, and not only working with your belief system, but using these beliefs to create an incredible life for yourself, please subscribe. I break down the mental system for analytical men every week, and I think you would enjoy it if you're liking this video so far. So here's the part that actually makes this work. Because if we're being honest, compared to scrolling on Instagram, watching a new YouTube video, learning about something on a podcast, logging your internal beliefs, logging your thoughts, emotions, can feel like something, I want to do that, but I don't know, I'll get to it sometimes. And that was something I saw in my clients too. These guys were very motivated people, very disciplined, but again, over time, there would be times they would slip up. So what we did, me and my business partner, Namer, who's built all this software as a part of as a part of data-driven actualization, we started taking principles from video games and implementing it into the way that we track and we reward people. So you get points for showing up. You can build streaks. You have weekly scores. You have badge tiers you unlock over the year. For example, for me, based on everything I've done in 2025, this is last year's data, I hit master tier with a little over 130,000 points, right? And I know some of you might think, oh, well, what's the purpose of this? And the funny thing is, even though I'm the person who built the system, along with Namer, this still works on me, right? Because we take the same idea that tech companies use to get you addicted to apps like Instagram, to Facebook, to YouTube, but instead we do it in a healthy way to help you build the habits. So you end up anticipating a reward for doing your meditation, for going into a social interaction you may have been intimidated by before. And when you have a streak that you don't want to break, and it's 8 p.m. that day, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't do my meditation or I didn't submit my report, let me do that, then everything starts becoming more and more effortless for you. And one thing I love about this whole process is at the end of the year, we take your single best week and we actually show you, right, I don't think it's in this presentation, but we actually show you what your life would look like if that best week became your average week. That's the entire point of the system. It's never about the points. The points are just the mechanism to keep you showing up until that showing up becomes who you quietly are, right? But the purpose of this system is to create consistency instead of being fancy. And when I collected all this data about myself, I realized things about myself that I didn't even think I could do. So, what did this data actually reveal in my experience? What happened when I tracked my belief work for a year? First, the compounding of this is real. I saw a lot more wins that I would have ignored if I didn't have this data, that I would have forgot about. I found that I was a lot more compassionate with myself because on days where I may have felt stuck, I could look at my previous data and say, oh my God, my mood used to be an 8 out of 10, now it's a 9 out of 10. That's pretty incredible, right? And it wasn't just me who benefited from this. We had a mechanical engineer inside our DDA mastermind community who ran this loop for a year, ran this process. And his mood went from a 3 to a 7.9. His numbing habits dropped by 96%. The way he described it in his feeling was, I just feel slowly like I'm being more and more of myself. So in his feeling, it's like, oh, okay, some things are changing. But when he looked at the data, he went, wow, I knew this was changing, but I didn't know to this extent. For me, the number that spoke to me the most was recognizing I could show up consistently for 271 days of the week out of the 365 days, no matter how the day was going, right? And again, a lot of people, when they track their stuff, they make it about trying to be perfect. That's not my goal here. That's not the goal I have for myself or for my clients. We believe in data driven actualization. Consistency beats perfection. So for me, that level of consistency was very important. Now, for those of you who love data, who love tracking stuff, I need to tell you something very honest about my perspective. Tracking can become its own trap, right? You can say, oh, my mood's been over 8 this week. I want to keep my mood up, so I'm not going to have this hard conversation. This is why we don't sell our software separately to our coaching, because we understand that tracking serves as an aid to the mentorship that we do ourselves. And if we just share this with everyone, they might miss the point a little bit. So if you turn one more spreadsheet that you're using for your own tracking to a perfect, a clever way to avoid feeling stuff, avoid the actions you need to take, you completely miss the point of this whole process. The data is not the end goal. It's the mirror that keeps you honest, and it points you at doing the real work, right? Regulating your state, changing the belief system underneath. So you're tracking to see things clearly, not to look cool, not to look perfect to other people. Now, everything I've shown you in this video is just the first layer of what we built. I want to show you what the vision for this is for myself, for the people I'm going to be working with for the next few years and a decade to come, because we want to turn this into an operating system that integrates doing belief work into your life effortlessly, right? So you can see a little bit of our vision here. This is a mock-up. We're still working on, completing all of this, but this is what we're building the whole thing into, right? Imagine you wake up in the morning, you open your laptop, and you have this assistant that knows already where you're at in terms of your beliefs. It can read your habits, it can read your streak, it can read your progress around the areas that actually matter, like emotional mastery, identity and beliefs, your productivity system. And instead of dumping 100 options of what you could do, or you having to use 100 different tools for different goals you have in your life, you just have one system that tells you the next best step. So this way, the analytical mind gets what it actually needs, a clear direction, instead of getting stuck learning, getting stuck researching, getting stuck setting up systems. This is what we're trying to build. This is what we want to do with data-driven actualization as an extension to our coaching. So this isn't just another dashboard to interpret. It's an assistant for your beliefs. It's an assistant for your mind. Think of it like Jarvis from Iron Man, but for your mind. It pulls your learnings, your tracking, the exact beliefs you're working on this week, and combines it with our live coaching and community in one place. And every single day, you just get the lowest friction way back into doing this work. Because the biggest reason people fall off from living a good life is they're just inconsistent. So if we can solve that one problem and give people the guidance they need, then just by consistency, eventually by showing up and having the right guidance, everything will change, right? So that's what I really want you to take away from this. The truth about inner work is the hardest part was never getting the insights. It was never, I don't know, doing journaling for one day. It was entering the process of doing this belief work day after day when your inner critic gets loud, when life gets uncomfortable, when things get busy. So we're building the thing that removes this friction. Your mind finally with an operating system as serious as the one that you would build for a project that you care about, for something that you're working on, or you would want for someone that you care about, right? So what I learned from my experiment of tracking my belief work for a year is a few things. First, if we track our workouts, our sleeps, our steps, we should also track our minds, our belief system, because this is the most important asset we have access to. And it's the one that decides how life actually feels. And for a lot of people, they've just been navigating it blindly, right? So that's the thing we need to change. We need to make the invisible visible. Beliefs that we didn't know about, we resurface them, we track them, and we see our process, right? So the key principles from this video is the trap was the growth is invisible. So a lot of people end up quitting belief work before the change really compounds. The shift is we track the mind, not just the habits, and we make the invisible visible. And the system is a game you'll keep playing. The assistant that we broke down here, Jarvis for your mind, this is how we make this whole process effortless, right? And if you want the whole thing, not just the tracker, but the system I showed you here today, the belief work, the coaching, the operating system for your mind, the way into this is through the 30-day U 2.0 accelerator. You can test drive this without any longer commitments. There's a link in description to book a call. We'll look at where you're at, what your goals are, what beliefs are holding you back, and see if this is the right time and the right fit for you. Thanks for watching. I hope this serves you intellectually to understand what happens when you gamify your belief work, but it also inspires you to either join our system or create a similar system for yourself. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.